All right, welcome back, crime fighters. It is time for another edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted, the program where you get to help make Calhoun County a better and safer place by helping us lock up the bad guys. I'm Chris Wright, and with me is Lindy Meter, Captain Lindy Meter from the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office. We've had you on the show before, but it's been a while.
It's been a while.
But folks are going to need to get used to hearing and seeing you because with John Garlick retiring from the Sheriff's Office and moving on to different things, we're going to be seeing you more often.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's a good thing. Welcome on. And how long have you been with the Sheriff's Office now?
Right at 23 years.
23, so just getting started.
Just getting started, I'm just getting my feet wet, getting to know things.
All right, well, let's, of course, at the beginning of the show, one of the first things we do is we say thank you to the viewers for helping us catch some individuals. And this week, we've got one more to add to the list. Christopher Fowler arrested, so that brings our total to 4,433 so far.
Wow,
so,
that's great.
yeah, that's a big number that just keeps on climbing every single week, so couldn't do it without our viewers, obviously.
No, not at all.
All right, so thank you for being here. Look forward to spending a lot of these shows with you here in the future.
Looking forward to it.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the first half of this week's lineup, and we'll meet our guest today, who is definitely getting ready for the start of the new school year on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. All right, let's get started with this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. If you have information on where we can find anybody in this lineup, please contact Calhoun County Crime Stoppers at 256-238-1414. Monica Smith of Anniston, wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. Jefferson Whirl of Anniston, wanted for possession of a controlled substance and on bond revocation for possession of a controlled substance and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. Kenneth Sears of Weaver, wanted on a failure to appear warrant for receiving stolen property, second degree. Delina Horsley of Anniston, wanted on a failure to appear warrant for theft of property, fourth degree. Joseph Westerhausen of Anniston, wanted for failure to pay for theft of property, first degree. Dylan Grizzard of Oxford, wanted on a probation violation for obstruction of justice using a false ID. And Roy Nelson of Oxford, wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. Again, if you have any information, please call Crime Stoppers. That number is 256-238-1414. All right, we will have the second half of this week's lineup coming up in just a few minutes, but Lindy, we don't like to just talk about bad guys. We like to talk about positive things going on too. And we got school starting back here in
next week.
Yeah, can't believe it's already here. But it is, and we've been doing back to school shopping. It's been a little bit crazy in my house for a couple of different reasons I'm not going to get into, but one of them is we've got a kid that's getting ready to start college instead of going back to high school. So
I understand. I've got one starting high school.
Yeah.
So.
And our guest actually has one starting college as well. Grady Locker is with us, and a lot of you know Grady from 25 years as counselor and teacher at Oxford High School.
Absolutely.
And as a student there together, and Grady and I go way back. We were in school together, good friends. And you just recently retired from the school system, but now you're back in the school system in a way. You're going to be working, if I understand this correctly, with is the Helping Families Initiative with the Calhoun County District Attorney's Office and United Way. Is that right?
Yes. I'm working as a kind of a joint collaboration between United Way East Central Alabama, the Calhoun County District Attorney's Office, with what's called the Helping Families Initiative. It's a program that's been in the state for a few years. There's state legislature approved some money, and each judicial district can use that money to fund the program. And Calhoun Cleburne County District just got on board a couple years ago. They've experimented with it. I'm going to be their first full-time what's called case officer or case manager.
So this is a program that's somewhat been in place, but now we're taking that next step. So there's going to be one person, you specifically tasked with making sure that families have some help getting their kids to school, basically, right?
I'll be assigned specifically to the Calhoun County school system. In fact, even though I'm a technically a United Way and DA's office employee, my office is actually in the Calhoun County Administrative Building for the school system. Alabama, of course, has a law that requires students to go to school. If a student doesn't go to school regularly, they can be prosecuted. The family can be prosecuted. The student can have a petition signed against them.
But that's not what we want.
No, it's not what they want. And Superintendent Donald Turner does not want to prosecute families if they can avoid it. The DA's office does not want to prosecute families. So the goal is in all school systems, parents are alerted when their students are missing too many days. Letters go out when a couple of unexcused absences occur. For example, in the county system, when at least one, if not two unexcused absences are recorded, a letter goes home to the family. By the third unexcused absence, if that appears to be a pattern, I will come and meet with that family. And I will go to the home and try to determine if there is a problem going on in the home. I'll do an assessment with the family.
A lot of times we might think it's just, okay, this kid's lazy or delinquent or the parents are negligent. And in some cases, that's probably true.
In some cases, it would be.
But there are a lot of other things that affect kids being able to get to school. And if we can address those issues, we can help the families, help the school, help society at large.
Absolutely. It may be that maybe someone's dealing with a health issue or poverty. It could be there's some drug use in the home that's helping cause problems for the family successfully getting the kids to school. My job will be to identify those issues, help the family locate the services that will get them back on track. I will then follow up with the families periodically to see if it's working. If it's working, then the school system knows they don't have to worry about that student anymore getting to school. If not, then it could lead to the next step, which is, of course, prosecution stage.
I imagine some people watching this may think, well, yeah, that sounds great. That's Big Brother coming into my house to see what's going on in my family. Are you anticipating some resistance to this?
I suspect there might be a little resistance. One thing, and I can assure the families I'll be meeting with, is my background is as a counselor, and my meetings with them is purposely confidential. The school system won't know what I'm dealing with or who I'm meeting, or they'll know who I'm meeting with, but they won't know what we discuss. I also won't be sharing that information with the district attorney's office or United Way. So they will have a confidential person to meet with. Now, obviously, if I find issues that are beyond that scope, I find specific negligence or abuse on that, then I have to.
There are some things that you're required to report.
As a mandatory reporter, I will have to report those things. But if their family's dealing with a poverty issue, the school doesn't necessarily have to know what that specific issue is. The DA's office doesn't, but I can help guide the family to the services that will help them out.
And that's so big, Lindy, because I know you and everyone at the sheriff's office, you're used to going into homes and finding families that are really struggling. And there are services, so many different services out there to help them that would be so much better for them to be dealing with than the sheriff's office.
Right, right. And too, because you're going to be doing home visits, correct?
Yes.
And so, and I know that we get calls, not a lot, but we do get calls where parents call the sheriff's office because their kid refuses to go to school. So we have to go out and try to intervene and convince the kid to go to school.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been doing here the last couple of weeks is, obviously school hadn't started yet, so I haven't met with any families yet, but I've been meeting with local agencies just to kind of alert them who I am, what I'm doing, so when they hear from me, they'll know what I'm there for. And of course, working with United Way directly gives me kind of an in route of a one-stop shop almost. I can get with United Way and say, okay, we're dealing with this issue. Where should we go? What's the best source?
And again, you're not necessarily telling United Way specifically this is the family that's got this issue, but you're saying this is the problem that I've got it with client has, and how can I help them get the services they need? So you're really, we say you're working for the United Way and the district attorney's office, but in reality, when it comes down to it on a day-to-day basis, you're working for that family.
That's absolutely true. I'll be working for them.
All right, so we need to take a quick break, but I want to talk some more about how this is actually going to work in reality and how families can get some help when we come back here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. All right, here we go with the second half of this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Charlotte Ferguson of Jacksonville is wanted on a failure to appear warrant for permitting dogs to run at large. Jennifer Hurst of Anniston wanted for promoting prison contraband, also for probation violation for possession of a controlled substance, and bond revocation for obstruction of justice using a false ID and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. Tanya Bradley of Piedmont is wanted on a failure to appear warrant for passing bad checks. Scarlett King of Alexandria also wanted on a failure to appear warrant for passing bad checks. Terry Amos of Anniston wanted on a failure to appear warrant for theft of property, 3rd degree. Byron Hester of Anniston wanted on a failure to appear warrant for illegal possession of prescription drugs. If you have any information about anyone in this video, please call Calhoun County Crime Stoppers at 256-238-1414. All right, we will have the Crime Stoppers segment of the show coming up here in just a few minutes, talk about several property crimes that you might be able to help us with. But right now we've got Grady Locker with us, who is just retired from counselor at the Oxford City Schools and is now working with the District Attorney's Office and United Way with the Helping Families Initiative, trying to work and make sure that kids are able to get to school. So you were saying before the break that when kids miss school, the schools are going to be sending out letters to the families and taking some actions to make sure the family knows that the absences are happening. What's it like on the family side? How should they respond? What are they going to see, and what should they do?
All right. This is true for all school systems, but specifically the county system will, if a student fails to turn an excuse in by either the first or second absence, they don't turn an excuse in, the family gets a letter from the school's attendance clerk saying, you're not in compliance with the state law about turning excuses in and mandatory attendance. And I will be alerted to those. If by the third or fourth unexcused absence that appears to be a trend, then I will contact that family directly, come to their home and meet with them in the home. If it gets to a fifth absence, the school system has to then report that to the juvenile court system, and they go to what's called early warning. Early warning is what it sounds like. They meet with juvenile probation officers who explain to the family what the law is, why they have to follow it, and then if they don't follow it at that point and they continue to miss, then
getting their attention and making sure they know
make
what the
sure they
situation
understand
is.
the law, but make sure they understand they're not being punished.
And these are unexcused absences.
These are unexcused absences. Now, it's a good question about the. Obviously, there's more than just that. There are students who have what's called chronic absenteeism, where they're missing days. Chronic absentees, 15 or more school days. They may be turning in excuses. They may actually be going to the doctor's offices, but they're still missing so many days. Technically, obviously, that's not a crime, but they're missing so many school days, they're falling behind their peers. I'll be meeting with those families too. If we notice a family who's 6, 7, 8 days missed school, but they've been turning excuses in, they're not getting the early warning letters. They're not being told you need to go to court and talk about this. But as a former educator and working with the school system, Superintendent Turner would like me to meet with those families as well and make sure they understand how that's impacting their family, how it's impacting the students.
So the bulk of what you're going to be doing is just making sure that families are able to connect with the resources that can help them. And what would be even better, of course, is if they already know about those resources before they get to that third, fourth, fifth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are some of the common things that families may be dealing with that they don't know the resources that are out there?
One of the biggest ones, and just from my years and being in Oxford school system, but speaking with Superintendent Turner and the county system, is poverty. It's not knowing how do you deal with, hey, my power's been shut off. Is there an agency that could help me get it reinstated or help me catch up on some past bills? Power goes out, kids don't get their clothes washed, they're embarrassed to go to school. Those are things that a lot of families in this area are dealing with, and there are agencies in town that will help with that.
And a lot of the same information that you can share with them, these families can get themselves by calling the United Way, right?
Yeah, the 211 number. The 211 number will hook them up with those agencies as well. But a lot of times families just don't realize, or honestly sometimes don't trust that. And that's where I come in. I'm supposed to help them understand we're not here to scare you, we're not here to punish you, we want to help you get back on track in whatever way that may be.
Right, because a lot of parents may have that fear of calling and asking for assistance, but in fear that, well, if you don't think I can take care of my child, then DHR may step in.
Exactly.
So
exactly. And one of my roles will be to explain I am not DHR, I am not any other agency whatsoever. And it's also to let them know, we don't have to just go through state agencies or government agencies. We can go through faith-based organizations. We can go through local community or local charitable organizations for that help.
There are some other options there. And sometimes people will call a number and they'll talk to somebody and they think they've got some things, but they kind of miss a couple of the details, but they're embarrassed to say, and they just kind of nod or say, yeah, and then they hang up the phone and they really don't know. And there's a big difference having somebody like yourself actually in the home. You can see their reaction and realize that they may not be quite grasping it. And this is where we can go and just kind of holding their hand through that process.
Well, one of the good things I'll have is United Way and I will have a advisory committee developed. We haven't actually built it yet, but we know who we want to approach. The Sheriff's Office is one of those agencies. We do want to talk with DHR. We do want to talk with mental health, the health department. We want local charitable organizations like Community Enabler or Family Services and have them come in, not specifically about individual students or individual families, but just, what can we offer? Like if I am dealing with a family in a poverty situation, what agency am I sitting here at this table with would best suit that need, so we can get that family to that need faster.
Well, good luck. The new school year is about to start. Hopefully you won't have to be visiting anybody here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, unfortunately I expect I will, but
well, everybody get a good look at Grady Locker's face here. If he comes and knocks on your door, I promise he is there to help you. So answer the door, and he is going to do his best to help you in the situation and not cause you more headaches. All right. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
We will be back in just a few moments. We'll have the Crime Stoppers segment of the show and our Crazy Criminal of the Week on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Okay, it's time for the Crime Stoppers segment of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. We've got some property crimes that we would appreciate your help with. If you have information, please call Calhoun County Crime Stoppers at 256-238-1414. On July 23rd, a home on Mountain View Road in Alexandria was burglarized. There was damage to a door and a door frame. Between July 19th and July 23rd, a burglary was reported on Mount Gilead Road in Jacksonville. Food items were taken from the residence. On July 24th, a report was filed for a burglary which occurred at a storage facility on Choccolocca Road in Anniston. A Graco pack and play, stroller, microwave, Christmas tree, and decorations were stolen. Between July 13th and July 21st, a home on Union Church Road in Wellington was burglarized. Items taken included 2 window AC units and a citizen's watch. Between October 15th and July 27th, 4 chain link gates were stolen from a location on Golden Valley Road in Ohatchee. Between July 19th and July 27th, a residence on Choccolocca Road was burglarized. A weed eater was stolen. Again, if you have any information, please contact Calhoun County Crime Stoppers. Their number is 256-238-1414. We want your information, not your name, and you could get a cash reward of up to $1,000.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
All right, so for our crazy criminal this week, Lindy, drive-by shootings, we don't have a lot of those in Calhoun County, do we?
not a lot, and I hope not to get a lot, but I mean, we do have a few, but it's not a lot.
Something that you see a little bit more often in some of the bigger cities, and this one we're going to talk about today happened in Chicago, and Matthew Gibson lost his life. He was not the intended target, however. He was the driver of the vehicle. His passenger was supposed to do the shooting, and they pull up beside a white SUV, and the passenger
I can kind of see where this is going.
turns to his left, where the white SUV, and hits the driver instead. I don't want to give a whole lot of tips to drive-by shooters, but generally you would want your target probably, I would imagine, to be on the right.
Yeah, you know, you want to do a little bit of training. You would want to do a little dry run through that before actually, you know, doing the real thing.
So I don't want to celebrate any loss of life, but much better the driver or gunman than their target, I guess.
I guess so.
All right, that's our crazy criminal for this week. We thank you for tuning in to Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Please check out our Facebook page to continue to get more information so that you can be in touch and share some information and receive some information from the Sheriff's Office. We'll be looking for you again next week, but hopefully not in the lineup or in a drive-by shooting on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.